Hi everyone, welcome back to a very short video which will follow after the Porto vlog. I just want to run through some of the really cool souvenirs I bought. If you haven't seen already, please do check out the Porto vlog. I'll leave the links down below or it'll come up here and it'll be the suggested video at the end of this video, so please do check that out after. But I just wanted to address a couple of things, and the reason why I'm making it as a separate video is because there are so many cool things I got out of Porto, which I feel like it's something that it would be such a shame to miss and ignore, especially when we had such a adventurous trip in terms of just bringing back so many good gifts. And I feel like I normally wouldn't do this. I didn't do this for Scotland, I didn't do this for any of the other trips that we've done before, but some of the good things that I really wanted to kind of address without making the previous video too long or too boring, so I'm going to address it in this video. So you might have seen a couple of clips of me going to the places and where I bought it, just to give you some explanation of where the gift came from, which will probably clear up as to where you guys can get the souvenir and the best places, whether it's something that you'll be interested in when you are going to Porto, and things that you can just genuinely buy and bring back home. I'm going to start off with what I bought first. One of the first few souvenirs that we went through, which I think is genuinely depending on what kind of traveller you are. If you're someone who loves travelling to places with like books, history, culture, art, things like that, or you want to carry home a souvenir from that attraction, it's probably the best word for it. So the first place we're going to talk about where you can get loads and loads of souvenir, whether you're a book person or you just genuinely love getting memorabilia, things that like remind you of the place, whatever it is. I genuinely think this is one of the best places. It may also be a tourist trap depending on the kind of person you are when you go, the sort of the timing as well. Livraria Lello, which is one of Porto's, well, not just Porto, I think it's one of the most beautiful library or bookshop ever. I think personally, I haven't really been to many in terms of abroad. A lot of the times I tend to find or source out books from local boutique bookstores or just vintage bookstores, especially the ones that are either repurposed or reused or secondhand. Is one of those places where it's beautiful, it's stunning. It's also a tourist trap, so be mindful if you're going in a specifically peak season when it's gonna be busy. Please do expect it to be extremely packed. They do have a system for queuing and getting in, something that you probably have to look online. I would suggest and I recommend, if you are intending to go, please do go and book tickets before you get to the place, because one, it will fast track you so you can get in quicker. Two, you'll be able to, essentially the price of the ticket can also buy you a book, and that's exactly what our souvenir or our first souvenir is. So the book that I got from the bookstore is The Beautiful Stories by Beatrix Potter. It's such a beautiful, I don't know if you guys can see. Let's see if I can focus it. Probably not the best, it's quite faint. It's such a beautiful book, really well put together. A tiny souvenir, perfect for someone that you know who loves books. It is a beautiful bookshop, but just be wary, it's very busy. It's a really popular attraction and it's a place where a lot of people will want to go. The other thing I did buy, and I'm a big fan of tote bags, something that I love going to any sort of place. I always collect one, I always will grab one if there's one that's like stands out or looks beautiful or whatever. Specifically their one, it literally just says, it says the world's most beautiful bookshop, and I just thought it'd be really cool to grab one of these. I loved it. It actually saved me because I was buying some other souvenirs which I'll speak about later on home, and the bag ripped, so came in handy. Now the next one is probably the most generic one, but both myself and James are collectors of magnets, so we grabbed one of these. These are sort of like your it's to resemble Porto's iconic tiling. They are so well known in terms of all, and if not a lot of their buildings are tiled in like multiple varied type of patterns, color. The most popular one is blue. They have that sort of royal blue or china blue tiling, and it tends to be on a lot of the sort of older buildings, not the modern ones. However, I genuinely think even the newer buildings are starting to re-adopt the tiling. Genuinely, it's like something you can't miss. I think a lot of people think that that's probably the most iconic part of Porto. Now, the other gifts tend to be either somewhere we went to, in terms of a place where we had some sort of tasting food, stuff like that. There are loads of souvenirs that you can go for in Porto. So one of which is a place of, because of how much, I guess, seafood that they get and a lot of more variety, they're well known for the canned sardine. Now they also can a lot of other fishes, including mackerels, bass, cod, sardines obviously. They also do mussels and octopus, I think. But you can genuinely get these as souvenirs to bring back home. Now, I had no troubles going through as a carry-on bag, so if you do have a check-in bag, you're more than likely to be okay. So this is what I got. I got a box of canned sardines. I also got a mixture of other things as well. They're kind of ornate cans. Sorry, that's smoked mussel. Oh, hello. That's smoked mussel. We got the horse mackerel. They're both in olive oil, which I thought was a great way of basically gifting those who are really foodie. And then I've got the no bones, no skin sardines. Now, probably can't see it well because it's quite dark now, but they're genuinely so beautiful. All the designs are unique to each of the ingredients, so they're kind of very ornate and very well designed. It's very personalized to the brand. Of course, these ones are a bit more of the expensive range. Of course, you can go for much cheaper ones. They tend to be quite varied. Loads of companies do it. I've gone for something that's a little bit more out there in terms of what people would recognize. However, you can go for options that are like, there are a lot of boutique or smaller companies or farmers company, especially markets. They have loads of these sort of canned sardines and canned fishes. Just be careful of one, your sort of carry-on bag requirements. Not at all countries, including the UK's, are quite specific in their measurements, so do check that out on their website. I do believe the carry-ons can only have up to 100ml liquid, so just be careful that the cans are within that requirement. You may find that some companies have an agreement with airport system to allow for these sort of ingredient or sort of souvenirs, so something to check as well. So the next place I really want to mention is a place called Casa Portuguese do Pastel. I can't say it. It's a place called Cod. I'm not joking you. It literally is the name of the place. It's south of the river. It's also called Casa Portuguese do Pastel de Bacalhau. I may have butchered the pronunciation, but please do check this. I will leave all the information down below so that you can find these places out. But they served the most delicious it's codfish, dried and salted cod in a really beautiful potato mash together and fried, crumbed and fried. Genuinely one of the most delicious things. I guess it's a fish cake really. It's super delicious, and the cool thing about cod is that they kind of do a set souvenir as a way of basically remembering it. In the set, it's a glass of port with with the fish cake, and how they serve it is on a really cool cork made platter, like a cork made board, and literally you get to bring the glass and the board home, and essentially you hold it like that. So what it looks like, there you are, what it looks like is like that. Glass balances inside, and then the fish cake would have sat there. And the idea is that basically each and every individual person would have been able to take this home as souvenir. It's such a clever souvenir, and I think this is one of my favourite places that we went to, just because one, they also very cleverly placed the date. Place the dates on the glass so that you can remember when you visited one of their shops. Those two, I mean, the set alone was quite cheap. I think it was only like 10 to 15 euros. You literally basically got breakfast with a glass of port, and they did not skimp out. They were not, like, they literally filled the glass up to like at least this part here, like at least half the glass. And this was like morning time snack. I don't think we had breakfast on that day, and I think generally that day I was very close to being drunk on port because of how much we drank. So we were genuinely impressed at how not busy it was. It wasn't a complete tourist trap. Very affordable, especially with the fact that you can bring everything home, the board, the glass. You got great, like the cod was just delicious. There's two types. There's one that's just strictly cod, and the other one's with cod and cheese. There is a specific Portuguese cheese. If you can't have dairy like myself, then obviously avoid it, but you have an option. Now moving on to the next gift I really want to talk about is, because we're on the south of the river, it's also the side where most of the port is made, or basically it's a distillery, or basically where it's kept and where it's matured. On that side of the river, you will find all the companies who produce port. Clem, Taylor, Tawny, that's not even, Graham's. So you'll find you'll find all the sort of popular port brands in that concentrated area, and I'm not joking you. Literally every building on the face of the river are port distilleries or some sort of company who basically sells and distributes port. Clem, Taylor, Graham, you've got Salmon as well. So all the big brands, and they're not competing with one another. They all have their own style, their own like sort of unique flavour, and of course a lot of the things that you do learn on any of your tours, if you do go on to have a museum port tour about how port is made, which was something that we did. It was absolutely worth the money. It wasn't inexpensive. I believe we paid about 17 euros, but with the tour it came with samples, so you got to taste their products there and then, and it was an awesome experience. You sat down with them, they explained you the flavor profiles, what kind of port they make. I think I learned so much about port in one day. Specifically, I think the kind of flavor profiles through to the products, and I think this is what leads to my next gifts. I did not buy this at any of the distillery or the shops, purely because obviously security purposes, you wouldn't have been able to carry more than 100 mils. So don't be disappointed. Wait until you get to the airport and buy it at duty free, because it's also even cheaper than actually buying it from a store. So I'm going to start off with the first one. This is a classic, really, a Tawny. This is Tawny Porto by the company Clem. Clem also owns a number of brands as well, so just be wary. It may not be called Clem in your country, it might be called another name. So they were the company that we went with the tour, and honestly, like from the beginning to end, the experience was amazing. And then specifically myself, I bought two of their white port, which is called Lagrima. Lagrima is a much more sweeter. If you have a sweet palate, you would love this. It's much more it's more similar to nuts and honey as a flavor profile. So I bought two of those for like gifts as well, because they were £9. When do you get a bottle of wine for £9? And it's port, so you don't obviously drink it like wine. It's much more, it's very close to liqueur, but it's similar to sherry actually. It's a great way of basically finishing your meal. It's absolutely delicious, and I think it's worth every penny to buy, because it's one of those products that I think like everyone enjoys, whereas wine is a bit more specific. I've also bought 2 of the products much more I guess more popular, because obviously the flavor profile is more rounded. If you're going for a ruby on LBL or something that's a bit more reserved, then obviously you're going to get much more complex flavor profiles, which is something that we learned. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I absolutely don't. Now, moving on to probably my last 2 like favorite things that I bought in Porto, specifically because these were the last 2 gifts, of which I bought very much later on in the trip. Now, Porto is known for many things, but one thing that I don't think I realised how well known they are until you kind of see these products in the market used, and it kind of makes sense because of the way products like port is made so close to the vicinity. There's a lot of cork manufacture. Now, they're notoriously known for cork products, and I just genuinely didn't think very much of it, and then I saw this. I thought this was a beautiful idea of a glasses case, very well made in a like great quality, and it's lined so that your glass is obviously safe, but these are all handmade. So something that you can do is supporting the local small boutique, like small companies, boutique companies who produce these. Most of these products are handmade, so be wary that it's a lot of time and energy spent on this. And I just want to say this was not expensive whatsoever, so definitely a great product. You can also buy like other versions, i.e. purse, anything of that sort. And then my final one is, and this is a gift to myself actually, this is the same company who produced the cork purse and sunglass cases. I probably will leave all the sort of details and information and location to all the souvenirs down below, just for you guys to basically keep a lookout for, and whether you guys want to, you know, buy one. Now, I haven't opened this up since I picked these up at the shop. The shop is gorgeous, by the way. They have loads of these sort of porcelain espresso cups through to different souvenirs like necklaces, rings and stuff. So I'm super excited for this one. I need to get it open first. Oh, by the way, thank you to the guy who wrapped it so well, because we had carry-ons. Honestly, it was a complete struggle, and I was extremely worried. I think me and James were both extremely worried because we both bought this sort of delicate, fragile souvenir. But we're so glad that they had like cardboard and wraps to basically keep it intact. How am I gonna do this? They've wrapped it so well that I can't get into it. Now, if this is not for everyone, this gift, and I feel like you genuinely need to think about where you could put this. It's not like a picture or anything that you can display, and like a lot of people would think I'm crazy for buying this sort of gift. Okay, so I got a knife. I will be careful about this. So, like I said earlier, these are the sort of gifts that you really do need to think about whether you want it or not, because it could just be something that you collect and you might not want it later on. We did a lot of research when it was carrying like the sardines, because obviously it's actually food, there's ingredients in it, and it could be restricted by the borders. 2 things that I'm super happy that I bought, because I don't know, there's something beautiful about it, and taking it home just makes it even more extra special. I bought the tiles. Look how beautifully ornate they are. So I chose these 2 designs because they will fit in my room. This is a green, I believe it's like a it's quite a dark jungle green actually, and they literally say at the back, and I don't know if you guys can see, but they say made in Portugal, you know. And then, so as I said earlier about how iconic the blue ones, most of the tiles in Portugal looks like this blue, sort of royal china blue, in a white background, and you will find these sort of tiles located everywhere in Portugal. And I think there's something wonderful about having these sort of souvenirs that you can basically carry home. These were genuinely the easiest souvenirs to carry home. I think I really struggled with the bottle of port because they were so heavy, but also the glass from Cod. Let me put these down. This was genuinely the most difficult one because very little can be fit in this or around this, and I had no bubble wraps or anything. I think both myself and James are genuinely quite happy about what we bought for our family and what we can bring home. A lot of the stuff is for myself as just a token or a memory of Porto, but also a lot of the gifts, like the food, and the drinks, are going to family members who genuinely will enjoy that. They are, and I just want to round this off really, there are generic, I guess, souvenirs that you will find everywhere. So the typical ones are like the kitchen cloths, or the kitchen towels, through to bottle not openers, the magnet, things like that are just quite, I guess, generic, and I didn't want it to be generic gifts that we brought home. And a lot of the things that we found as souvenirs are genuinely below £10, so a lot of this was actually very inexpensive. So definitely do your research, definitely plan, and if you're the kind of person who's gonna buy lots like we were, please do check in the bag. I think that's one thing that we will regret from this trip, is that we didn't have luggage room to basically buy more. There were things that I didn't think of, like bringing home pasta donatas, or what's it called, more canned sardines and octopus and different types of fish, through to how some of the books that we wanted to buy. We had to be super tactical about it in our carry-on bag, but there we are. Anyway, I'm gonna love you and leave you. I hope you guys enjoyed the Porto vlog. It was a great trip. Mwah.